Welcome. This is a video on worry. Those thoughts that we have in our head, this is so scary, or I can't stop thinking about this, or we tell ourselves internally, like, how am I going to make it through this? This is so terrible right now. It's these incessant thoughts that bring us concern and then lead, therefore, to anxiousness, stress, and nervous system dysregulation. What we can control, however, is our mind. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to do that. This video is for the person who is in the midst of worry, or you know that you have a pattern of being the quote-unquote worrywart. These words, these worries, they are creating the reality that you live in. We don't have the power to control the world outside of us. We do not have that. In a lot of ways, I know we wish we could. But much of what happens out there isn't even our business. We like to make it our business because we think if we control this, then everything in here, in us, will feel better. But those outside events are going to happen whether we worry about them right now or not. Worrying keeps us busy. It keeps us convinced that we are onto something, that we're doing something, that we're being productive, that we are accomplishing something in this stressful moment that we cannot control. And this, of course, is the biggest illusion of all, because you are doing nothing more than keeping your mind busy and then creating more anxiety and stress inside your body, your nervous system, and therefore repeatedly pulsating this out into the world and having it reflected back to you. And so you are creating not the best situation for yourself. With all this anxiety, you're telling your nervous system to stay in an anxious or frozen or fearful place. You see, when we're in a state of worry and overthinking, then we can't see the whole picture. And this is really important for us to understand today because we want to try our best to see the full picture. Now, I could talk with you right now about how important it is to hold multiple perspectives on any situation that might be going on in your life or in the world, and really trust the divine flow, that there's not one solution to problems or one truth to problems. That's a very big spiritual idea that's probably an entirely different video. But what I want you to hear is that when you're worried, you are seeing a tiny fragment of the whole picture, and this is creating more and more worry. You're blocking out all of the other things. And what we tend to do when we're worried is we focus on the perceived negative facts. What is the worst thing that can happen? And we're actually blocking out a whole new world that could actually cause us some more peace. Because the longer we stay in this pattern, we start to believe these tiny bits of facts that don't make up the whole picture. And then we believe it's true. And then sooner or later, we cannot see anything else but the made up truth that we've created in our mind. We make this issue out to be this really big deal. And here's the thing, I'm not saying it isn't important. Whatever you got going on, it doesn't mean it's not important. It doesn't mean there's not huge worldly issues that are happening that might be very scary for you or for others that you love right now. And it might even feel for some people like a life or death situation. I'm not trying to minimize that. Worrying is really the problem. What is it really going to do? It's become your habit. It's become a coping strategy, a way to get through a time because it feels like you're doing something. It's really not doing anything. For me, worrying has always been the way that I feel like I'm in control. We're not in control. We've never been in control. And worse yet, it's giving all of your attention to the fear, the worst case scenario, the negative, then again impacting your nervous system, creating more stress in your body for your digestive health, your endocrine system, your hormones, and then creating more tension in your body. And then you wonder why you have body pain, headaches, digestive issues, the whole gamut. You are not going to give any good space for good to come in if you continue the habit of worry. So what we're really talking about today is the voice in your head. And that voice in your head can be very loud, I understand. But the more that we give that voice in our head attention to the worry, then we actually don't open the channel that we have. We all have access to this channel, and what that channel is a channel of receiving new information that might even be helpful to you or to other people. And if you keep that channel clogged up with the worry and the thoughts and the negative, then you're not letting the channel be open to anything good that could come in. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Just stop it. Now, I know that's easier said than done, but the reason I accentuate the stop it is because I want you to start saying that to yourself every single time you notice you're worrying. Each day we only get so much energy. That means that you are wasting this precious energy and pointing it into a direction that doesn't serve you, will never serve you, instead of taking that energy and pouring it into an area of your life that could really serve you. Jim Rohn, someone I deeply respect, says, worrying is wasted mental energy. I want you to consider something right now. What is it in your life that you've been avoiding or you've been distracted from, or something that you really want to do that you could be pouring that energy, that valuable energy into, as opposed to giving it over so much to worry and concern and stress? Now, I realize it might be hard to let it go. This is an ingrained habit that you've probably had for most of your life, or you picked it up from your ancestors, and you do need to be diligent. This kind of thinking can be a lifetime of habitual habit. So it's not something that we just snap our fingers, we say stop it, and it just goes away. I look at it almost as addictive thinking. It's not serving you anymore. You are watching this video still because you have an awareness that it's not serving you anymore. And so one of the things that we can do is called a pattern interrupt, which is to say stop it. Or after saying stop it is to really check yourself. This video is your wake-up call, and you can really check yourself by asking the question, is this even true? Why am I thinking about this? Just even asking that question switches things around because it's making you crazy. The definition of insanity, we all know that, right? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Your worrying is not going to get you the results that you want. Each moment, and this could be multiple moments throughout the day, could be hundreds of moments throughout the day, your goal is to shorten the gap in the amount of time you spend in the worry. Now, be aware, what is the external stuff that you are allowing into your mind and your life that is making this even worse for you? So propaganda, media, news, other people, their experiences, their voices. I'm not saying you live in a shell and you don't pay attention to the world, but perhaps you need a break. Perhaps you need to shut all of that off. One time I spoke with a client about this and they said to me, well, Renee, I think about it because I care. I can't just stop caring. Now, we all have an egoic aspect of ourselves, this part that wants to fight. Like, no, like this is because I care. But this is where you're wrong. When we worry, we are actually putting energy towards the thing that's negative, that's fearful. So the thing that we are worried about, we are not actually doing any service. If you're worried about your child or your spouse or a big issue in the world, putting prayer or good energy towards that thing is going to do everyone more of a service with your caring energy than you push a negative, fearful energy towards it all day. That's what worry really is. And then to multiply on top of that, you are just hurting the health of your own body and then calling it caring. And that is the definition of martyrdom. And this is hard sometimes for us to hear. Over here with you, learning this experience for most of my life. So I'm with you. I'm not over here judging. There needs to be a level of honesty of how much this has been a disservice to you. If you're still watching this video, you need to see that your worry is making you sick. One of the things that helped me is that I really questioned how much of my time in my life I spent worrying. I had to see that I had this belief that there wasn't supposed to be difficult and challenging people or things in the world. And here's the reality. That's just not true. It's a limiting belief to think that things aren't supposed to be difficult and challenging. There will always be difficult and challenging people in your life. There are always going to be difficult and challenging situations in your life: homelessness, war, hunger, abuse, addiction, broken families, accidents, politics, financial issues, pain, bodies, I could go on. This is the reality. And it doesn't make it something that we look forward to. It's not like we're excited about these things, but it helps us to come back to a source of reality. And this reality is to remember that these things are always going to be there. And it's really how we choose to look at those experiences that really will make or break the health, mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical in our life. You want to be healthy? It's going to come down to how you think about the challenges that are coming into your world. When we admit that we have an issue, we might call this being powerless over the issue, that we don't have control over it, the next thing that we can do is to have faith and trust that there is a solution. And that solution is sometimes to pray about it. It's to give it over to whatever you might call God or higher power or spirit or Christ consciousness, universal plan. I don't know. Whatever you call that, you got to have faith and trust that this can change for you. And that maybe that's part of your practice when you say stop it and you start to turn it around as you give it over. Some people make those things called a God jar or a universe jar or whatever you want to call it, where you write the thing down that you're stressed about or you're worried about and you put it in the jar and you seal it up and you put it away. One final thing I want to teach you today before we conclude this video is a quick somatic practice. It's almost a brief meditation that I utilize whenever I find myself in a state of worry and concern. This is something you can do with your eyes open. You can do this while you're driving safely, please. You can do it while you're sitting at the boardroom table or at the kitchen table with your family. It's about orienting yourself to your 5 senses. So very slowly you start to orient yourself to each sensation you observe for about 30 seconds to a minute each for every sense. So first of all, you'll go through your sense of smell. You'll breathe through your nose, and you're just going to sit there and experience what it feels like for about 30 seconds. Some people like to count, to breathe through your nose. You might notice what you smell or the sensation of the air hitting the edges of your nostrils. Again, you're just being an observer. You're not judging the smells. You might notice like some stinky smells or some good smells. We're trying not to be judgmental and very curious. Then we move to the next sense, which is our hearing. And so what are the sounds that you can tune into? You might even practice while you're listening to me right now. Of course, you hear my voice, but what are the other sounds that you hear in the environment that you're in right now? Take it slow. Just notice. And then we move into taste. We take it slow. We take our time. We might be tasting just our saliva if we're driving and there's no food, or we might be tasting the food and we might be practicing a very slow, mindful eating. Scanning the room and the surroundings that you're in and moving into what do you see? Then you're tuning into this feeling state. And as you're scanning the room of what do you see, you're also tuning into your body and what do you feel? What do you feel in your hands? Maybe there's some sensations in your hands. Perhaps you touch something nearby, a sweater, and you observe that feeling. So you might notice that if you can orient yourself very briefly, I don't know how long that took, maybe a few minutes at the most, to your 5 senses, this brings you back into your body. This brings you back into your environment. And this also brings you back into an awareness of your thinking that's much different than the worry state. It allows your nervous system to ground down even more, and you can come back into yourself, into your soul, and into the present moment. I hope that serves you. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps me in the algorithm. I love to hear from you, so leave a comment below. I want to hear your feedback on this big one. This is it's worry. It's a thing that a lot of us genuinely deal with. So share yourself. And I put out a video every single week, so if you want to be the first to hear, make sure you hit that notification bell. You are subscribed, and you will hear when the videos come out. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.